Hello students, in today's video lecture we will discuss about the radical mechanism for the oxidative addition of some reagents into organometallic compounds. We will use suitable examples to elaborate this type of mechanism. As we know, we already have discussed the SN2 mechanism as well as consorted mechanism for oxidative addition. Briefly, oxidative addition involves the addition of molecules into the organometallic and coordinate compounds in which the oxidation state of a metal is increased by 2 units as well as the coordination number is also increased by 2 units. Now what are radicals? First of all, we must know what are radicals. So radicals are the chemical species which contains unpaired electrons, means these species are always paramagnetic in nature. So radicals, more appropriately they are called free radicals, which have one or more unpaired electrons. And the technique which is used to study these free radicals is ESR. ESR stands for electron spin resonance. This is the highly appreciated spectroscopic technique for studying the free radicals. As far as the types of free radical mechanism of oxidative addition are concerned, there are two main types. The first one is called non-chain radical mechanism. This mechanism applies to the oxidative addition of alkyl halides, means RX, into the metallic complexes. These alkyl halides may be methyl iodide, ethyl iodide, isopropyl iodides, and even benzyl bromides. These molecules can be added oxidatively into the organometallic compounds or some coordinate compounds. The mechanism involved will be non-chain type mechanism. So this is the very basic point and very important point that says that alkyl halides are generally added oxidatively through non-chain radical mechanism into the coordinate compounds. In order to understand this mechanism, now I will cite one example. Consider a triphenylphosphine platinum complex. So we have a lone pair of electrons, so this will act as electron donor to the alkyl halides. So after losing one of its triphenylphosphine ligand, it is transformed into this complex in which only two triphenylphosphine units are connected. So this reaction is reversible and this triphenylphosphine can add back to the coordinate compound. So the loss of this triphenylphosphine results in the formation of a vacant site. Now alkyl halides can coordinate through their sigma bonds at this vacant site. So here alkyl halide molecule is donating its electron through the formation of this sigma complex. So the transfer of these two electrons or sharing of these two electrons of the RX bond with platinum weakens the RX bond, and as a result of this, this bond is symmetrically cleaved and can result in the formation of R radical and X radical. At this situation, the metal will transfer its one electron to X radical, converting it into X negative. Now this X negative can coordinate with the metal because X negative now has a pair of electron and can act as a suitable ligand. So this results in the formation of platinum, which is now positively charged because of the donation of one electron. We have 2 units of triphenyl phosphine group and one X negative ligand is coordinated to it, and here we have one alkyl free radical generated. So if we are adding methyl iodide, this R radical will be methyl radical. In case of ethyl iodide, it will be ethyl radical. So this results in the formation of a complex in which now X negative is donating its electron pair to the platinum, and in that X negative one electron was donated by platinum. Now platinum has only one electron left, so one electron is transferred to X. Now we are left with only one unpaired electron. Now this can easily coordinate with an R radical which was formed, and this is the first step because this involves the coupling of radicals. So after coordination we will get platinum. We have 2 trace triphenyl groups, one X and one alkyl group. So in the compound, which was the starting compound, the oxidation state of metal was 0. After losing one triphenyl phosphine group, oxidation state still was 0. Now when it was coordinated with X negative, its oxidation state was +1. So in this case we have already written its oxidation state as +1, and now it can donate its, at this situation it can donate its one electron to R radical, and R radical will also be transformed into R negative. This is the one way, or the second way is that the R negative will couple with this unpaired electron, giving the final product. So in the final case, final complex, the oxidation state of metal is 2. So we have oxidatively added Rx into the platinum complex. So this was the example which was elaborating the non-chain radical mechanism. Now the main point, why this is called non-chain radical mechanism. The reason is that the addition of Rx involves the formation of R radical and X radical, and both these species are oxidatively added to the complex, and no further formation of free radicals occurs. So chain stops here. Since no free radicals are left after the addition of Rx into the complex, this is referred to as non-chain radical mechanism. Now what are the important observations which are connected to the non-chain radical mechanism? The first one is, these observations are very important. So no chain initiation, propagation and termination steps are involved. The second point is, we know that in non-chain radical mechanism there is formation of alkyl free radicals. And the order of stability of these free radicals is tertiary, more stable than secondary, more stable than primary. And what are the reasons? Due to hyperconjugation This is the very basic concept of explaining the stability of the free radicals. Means methyl free radical is less stable as compared to ethyl free radical. So as the number of alkyl groups will increase, the stability of the free radicals will also increase. So this is the tertiary, this is secondary. These both are primary free radicals, and the most stable one is tertiary, secondary, and then primary. The order of reactivity for oxidative addition will be tertiary, secondary, primary. Means those alkyl halides which are tertiary will react at a faster rate than secondary than primary, because the intermediate, which are the free radicals formed, have the order of stability tertiary more stable than secondary, more stable than primary. So this is the rate of reactivity, order of reactivity of alkyl halides. The third important point is, we also know that free radicals have sp2 hybridization and trigonal planar geometry, like this. We can have R, R dash, R double dash. Due to this planar structure, the final product may show a racemization due to inversion. So in other words, there is formation of enantiomers. Because of this planar geometry, they can change their configuration, and if we have the existing configuration as well as a new configuration, we will observe a process which is called racemization, means equal existence of the two enantiomers. This is very important. So in a free radical mechanism, there is a racemization. We have studied in consorted mechanism where no change in configuration was observed, whereas in case of SN2 mechanism, there is an inversion of configuration because of the backside attack of the nucleophilic metal center, whereas in case of free radical mechanism, we may have racemization. Since there is cleavage of CX bond, the rate of free radical addition depends upon the strength of CX bond, and we know that RI bond is weaker than RBR bond than RCl bond on the basis of size of halogen atom. So this is also the order of reactivity. So if we have same alkyl groups and different halogen atoms, the alkyl iodides will react at faster rate than alkyl bromides than alkyl halides. The reason is very obvious. Because of larger size of halogen atoms, the Ci bond will be weaker and is very easy to cleave as compared to CBr bond and CCl bond. So these are the four very important observations of non-chain radical mechanism. The first one was there is no chain initiation, propagation or termination steps. Second, free radicals have the order of stability tertiary, secondary and then primary, hence the order of reactivity for different alkyl halides is tertiary. Alkyl halides will be reacting more faster than secondary alkyl halides than primary alkyl halides. Since free radicals have sp2 hybridization and trigonal planar geometry, so we may have some racemization due to some inversion, and this confirms that there is formation of enantiomers. And we can also say that the formation of enantiomers or the racemization confirms the free radical mechanism for addition of alkyl halides into metallic complexes. And next point was the CX bond determines is the rate determining step, hence stronger the bond, lower is the rate. And we know that the CI bond is weakest, CBr bond is somewhat stronger, and CCl bond is very strong due to size of halogen atoms which decreases in the order I, Br and Cl. Hence the order of reactivity, if alkyl groups are same and halogen atoms are different, then the order of reactivity will be alkyl iodide will react faster than alkyl bromides and then alkyl chlorides. One point is there, these reactions, free radical mechanism is much faster than SN2 mechanism. So the reactions which are following SN2 mechanism are slower than the reactions which are following free radical mechanism. So in case of chain radical mechanism, it requires some chain initiators. So we need, the most important difference between chain and non-chain radical mechanism is that in non-chain mechanism we were not requiring any type of initiator, but in chain radical mechanism we need some chemical initiators which can initiate the chain reaction and formation of free radicals. A number of chain initiators are used. The most commonly used chain initiators are potassium persulfate, which is also called KPS. The formula is K2S2O8. Ammonium persulfate, it is also called APS. The formula is benzoyl peroxides. And another is AIBN, which is basically, the full form of this one is isobutyl nitrile. And the chemical formula is, we have methyl groups at this carbon atom and one nitrile group. Similarly, on this nitrogen we also have two methyl groups and one nitrile group. So this is the formula of AIBN, means azo-base isobutyl nitrile. So these are very commonly used chemical initiators. Now I am going to discuss one example for this one. So we use chemical initiator. So the first step involves chain initiation, and this chain initiation is started by chemical initiator. which I told you can be KPS, APS, AIBN or benzoyl peroxide. So this initiator, let it is represented as Q. It reacts with alkyl halide and forms QX because this bond is homolytically cleaved. So this is homolytic cleavage and will result in the X radical formation, which will combine with this Q radical, which is generated from chemical initiator, as well as there is formation of one alkyl free radical. The second step involves chain propagation. Now consider the Vaska's complex. We have two triphenyl phosphine groups, one CO and one Cl. So L can be triphenyl phosphine group. Now it reacts with R free radical, which is generated in the initiation step. So in this case the oxidation state of iridium is 1. In the next step, what happens? Iridium forms a square pyramidal type structure with R. So we have L, CO and Cl. So in this case what happens? One of the electron from iridium is given to R radical, converting it into R negative, which then finally coordinates with iridium. So this increases the oxidation state of iridium from 1 to +2, from +1 to +2. In the next step, what happens? Another RX molecule comes into play. Now what happens? This bond is homolytically cleaved, can form R radical and X radical. Now iridium loses one more electron to X radical, releasing back R free radical, and iridium, after transferring its electron to X radical, which is then converted into X negative, and this X negative can now form complex with iridium. So this is 6-membered complex with octahedral geometry, coordination number 6, and due to transfer of one more electron, in first step one electron was transferred, in second step one more electron was transferred, so there is total increase in 2 oxidation state units for iridium. So now oxidation state of iridium is +3. So initially it was a +1, then it was converted into +2 when it transfers its electrons to X radical, and finally it is converted into +3 oxidation state. So at this situation, now we can see that there is again formation of R radical. So R radical is again generated. So this will again propagate the reaction. So it will react with one more iridium complex, R radical, and so on. The chain will continue. So in this way we will have propagation. In the starting complex the electron count was 16 electron, but in the final complex we have now 18 electron count. So means now compound is coordinately saturated, which was initially coordinately unsaturated. The third and final step is chain termination. So chain termination can be brought about by reacting two alkyl free radicals or alkyl free radical with initiator to form RQ. This step is consuming free radicals, so this will terminate the chain. So we can now clearly demonstrate the basic differences between chain and non-chain radical mechanism. In non-chain free radical mechanism, no requirement of initiator is there, whereas in case of chain radical mechanism some chemical initiators are required, and we move in the very well known steps like chain initiation, chain propagation and chain termination. If chemical initiator is present and the reaction is following chain radical mechanism. One of the major limitation of this radical mechanism is that there is formation of large number of byproducts. Because of formation of these free radicals, a large number of byproducts are formed. So this is the very major limitation. So what is the main limitation of this one? Formation of byproducts. You can see here we have alkanes as byproducts. So the separation of these byproducts becomes difficult, and hence this mechanism is less favored. Okay, thank you.